Hey everybody. So recently one of my friends asked me some questions about working with footage in Premiere, specifically how to work with clips and audio of the clips when you already have existing audio on the timeline. And I was thinking about it more, and when I started making AMVs, it was really difficult to find current videos and tutorials for how to use Premiere and how to do the basics of it, making AMVs and editing. So I thought it'd be interesting to put together some videos, maybe a series of videos just explaining the very basics, kind of like an AMV 101 sort of thing. Maybe it won't be so helpful for editors that have been editing a while, but I'm hoping it'll be helpful for people that are just getting started and want to know more about the basics. So in this video, I'm going to be looking specifically at the very basics, which is creating a project, importing your footage, and working with your footage and keeping it organized. And that should get you pretty far along in terms of if you want to jump in and start editing. This is a tutorial specifically for Premiere, just because Premiere is what I use for editing. I'm not sure how helpful it'll be for other programs, but hopefully the basics would be helpful. I don't know. So anyway, if you have just opened Premiere, you'll probably want to start a new project. I'm going to use a project that I barely started as my example, but basically, if you click New Project, you just give your project a name and a location, and then I don't usually change any of these other settings, I just hit OK. But in this case, I'm going to open my project. So the first thing you're going to want to do, I already have my audio in here, but you're going to want to import your footage. So you can either go up to File and choose Import, Control I, or you can right click on this project window and click Import. So, source. So, I already have some footage prepared. Now, I'm probably not going to cover how to prepare footage for editing just because it's a very complicated matter. I'll probably put a link somewhere in the description for other people that are way smarter than me that know how to do that stuff. But I've already prepared this footage earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this in. This might take a minute. All right. So now all the footage is in the project. Something I like to do when I'm getting started is keeping things organized. So in the project, what is this called? The project window, I guess. What they call folders bins in Premiere. So if you want to create a folder to keep all this organized, you can click this button that says New Bin. And then I'll just call it like, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. Just call it whatever. And then you can click and drag everything and just put it in here. There's two different things to keep in mind with your video sources. And one way you can approach your footage is if you're, say, editing an AMV and you don't need any of the original audio in your video, you can process it so that there is no audio on it. So you can see this one does not have an audio clip in the icon. That means there's no audio in this. But the rest of these do have audio. So we'll get back to that in a bit in terms of how to deal with the audio. But the first thing I want to go over is what I usually do at the beginning of the project is I will go through, say I've got these like 12 episodes or so, and I'll cut them into smaller clips. I know people do this ahead of time, but I actually do it in the program. I don't know if that's dumb or not, but so what you want to do to have the sequence match the settings of your original video is you want to just drag any one of your episodes or videos onto this icon that looks like a little piece of paper with the edge curled up, and that'll create a new sequence of that video in there that has all the settings of the original video. And if you want to double check those, you can click on sequence and then click on sequence settings, And then you can see that all of the settings are probably the same as the original video. All right. So the next thing I usually do, when I'm starting a project, I'll have in mind what sort of footage I'm looking for. And I'll usually create 2 different folders. So I have a folder I usually call episodes that I will break into each individual episode. So like episode 1. And then I'll usually have a folder, I don't know what I would call this, like clips, or I don't know, call it clips. And then I'll have certain themes, I guess you could call it themes in mind, I don't know, zombies or something. I don't know. Whatever themes or something that you're looking for that you think would be helpful when you're trying to organize your footage. So anyway, what I usually do is I'll not exactly watch the episode, but I'll go through it really fast. And I'm just clicking and holding down the mouse to scrub quickly through the episode on the timeline. So it looks like this is leading up to, I'll kind of go by like a long scene or sequence in terms of where I want to create a clip. So this section seems to change around here. So if you want to be more precise when you're scrubbing, you can use the arrow keys on the keyboard. So I'm just going 1 frame at a time, the arrow key. And now to cut up the footage, what you want to do is either use this, add edit, will cut it, or you can use Control K. And you want to get used to doing hotkeys because you're going to be doing this a lot. So this is the first subclip that I want to make. So I'll click on this bin, and then I'll click on this clip in the timeline. And then I want to go up here to clip and make subclip, or Shift S. And then you can give it a name, and I'll usually do like episode 1, scene 1, and then I'll think of something really short that'll help me remember what this is. So this is, I don't know, train attack. So then you can delete it, but it's not gone forever. It's now in here, and this will be just that amount of footage that you saved. So I'll usually do that with the whole episode. I'm not going to make you guys watch me do the entire episode because that could take a while. So anyway, the next thing I wanted to go over is how you work with your subclips once you've made them. So I already have a sequence here that has my audio on it. I don't want anything to happen to this audio because I worked pretty hard on clipping it here. So you can click on this little lock. It'll prevent you from accidentally dragging it or anything like that. So there's a few different ways you can work with the clips. The most obvious one is you can click on it and drag it into the timeline. And since I've locked my original audio, it won't mess with it. But if, say, I did not have it locked, it would actually go over it, which would be bad. See, it's now gone over my song here, so I want to keep that locked. So the annoying way to work with clips that have audio on them is this. You see how they're connected? You want to right click and click unlink. So now they're separate, and then you can delete that. This is not such a great way to work with it, just because it's annoying to have to do that every single time you pull on a subclip. So the easier way to do it is just to double click on your subclip, and it'll come up in the source monitor. So now you can see your source footage in here, complete with audio. So what I usually do is I'll go through and find the specific part of the clip that I want. So I'm actually gonna use, where did my episode 1 go? I had in mind an area I was looking for. Here it is. So I'm looking for an area with the trains. So I'm just scrubbing through in the source monitor to find the spot I want. So I want to start with this frame. So you find where you want to start in the source monitor, and then you click this that says mark in. And then you want to go to the end of the clip that you want. So about here. And then what you want to do is, if you want just the video without the audio, you can click on this button and then just drag it onto the timeline. So I think it's around here that I wanted it. And then if, like right now it's showing me the entire sequence and I want to focus on a very small section. So to do that, you can click and drag on these handles and it'll kind of zoom in on the timeline. And if you want to preview the footage you have on here, you can hit spacebar. And I'm trying to remember, is it up here? Yeah, here it is. So basically it's going to hit play on the timeline when you hit spacebar. So that's about it in terms of that. Like now if I want to start timing this sequence, I can go through and find where the shot's cut. And then use our little trick that we did earlier, which is add edit, Control K. And then just split this up every time it cuts. And then find out where I want to put it. So actually, this is pretty close in terms of hitting where the music changes. So something else I like to do when I start editing is I'll usually go through the whole song and I'll put down markers. And markers are just a helpful way to remember where things happen in the song and to sort of line it up with the audio. So I was trying to hit right when this, see right when the music kicked in. So you can, as you're going through the song, as long as you have the timeline selected, you can hit the M on the keyboard and it will set down a marker. And that'll allow you to say, like, I want to make sure it's actually hitting this beat. You can click and drag and then see how this line appears with the little arrow. It's snapping it to that marker. And I think you have to have snapping enabled. Yeah, under sequence, see snap is enabled. That makes sure that things kind of snap together and you can see kind of what it's snapping to based on that little line. Snapping is very useful if you don't want to keep messing up your timeline and end up with like tiny bits of black in between clips and stuff. So, I mean, that's about it. That's the majority of getting started in terms of processing your footage, organizing your footage, and then getting it onto the timeline and start going. So let me know if you have any questions, if you have any ideas for future videos, but this is about where I'm going to leave this, so thank you for watching.